Hey guys, my name is Christina.
My name is Brian, and welcome to What the Fuck Did I Just Watch?
Where every week we will be rolling a 26-face die that will determine the first letter of the movie we will watch this week.
The twist is that one of us, or both of us, have never seen the movie before.
So join us as we share our thoughts on the movie.
I mean, that's gonna be horrible, but yes, absolutely.
Have a few laughs.
Stop it. And discuss what the fuck we just watched.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting...
Shh.
Hello.
It's a quiet place.
Welcome back to another exciting episode of What the Fuck Did I Just Watch? Whisper Edition.
No.
There are aliens out there that might hear us, pants.
We can't do that the whole time.
Nope, not at all.
I hate how it sounds in my ears.
Yeah, me too.
But welcome.
Oh, we're running with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah. We're going for it.
Hello, welcome. Pants,
Yes.
you and I just are fresh out of a movie theater. Have you been to a movie theater since the pandemic started?
No, I have not. The last movie I saw pre-pandemic was Sonic the Hedgehog in March of 2020. And I was very, very afraid that was going to be the last movie I ever saw in theaters.
And it was.
It was for a good year and a half.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't even tell you the last movie I saw in theaters. I am extremely unsure, but today was the first time that I'd stepped foot in the theater since March 2020.
But you don't know what you saw?
Okay, sorry. I guess since before March 20. Yeah, I honestly can't remember the last movie that I saw. It was most likely with you because you're kind of the only one that I really go. The thing is, like, Liv and I have so many streaming services that we typically just use those. But yeah, I couldn't tell you.
I know the last movie I can remember actually seeing with you in a theater, and it probably was not the last one you saw, but is Cats, which is
oh my god, that might be
very disappointing.
That might be it. We'll have to do a little research and figure out when it came out, but that might be it.
Well, I'm glad we saved you from that being your last theatrical experience.
Yeah, it's so crazy. I mean, just walking into the movie theater today, it was weird. Yeah. It's been a while, and it was kind of desolate.
Yeah. So we, just for background, we rented out a theater to see Quiet Place 2 in Houston. We had about 18 people total, I believe. The max for the rent out being 20. As far as I know, we were all vaccinated and we were good.
Oh yeah.
So it was very nice to be back.
Yes, definitely. It was nice to also be kind of with our group of friends and watching the movie. And
I also had a free large popcorn and free drink, which I was not expecting on my AMC account. So
that's awesome.
It expires tomorrow, so I'm glad I got to use it. Because I don't know what the next movie will be that actually warrants me to go to a theater.
Yeah.
Probably one of the Marvel movies.
Yes.
Because that's really all I care about seeing.
Indeed.
So,
Pants, do you have the synopsis for A Quiet Place 2?
I do.
Would you like to read it to the audience?
Following the events at home, the Abbott family now face the terrors of the outside world. Forced to venture into the unknown, they realize the creatures that hunt by sound are not the only threats lurking beyond the sand path.
That's so cute, the sand path.
The sand path.
Also, you said into the unknown. And
okay, I don't want to hear about
immediately Elsa.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay. Not sure I knew their last name was Abbott.
Yeah, I don't know that that's established in the first movie, but there is not a large portion of like speaking.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
So it's the family has their daughter is deaf. I don't think the son is deaf.
No,
right?
No, he can speak.
They just all speak sign language, which is how they're able to communicate with one another, which is, I mean, very handy.
Indeed. Yes.
That was not a pun intended. I'm just saying that like it's really great that they had that ability to communicate with one another because they are being hunted by an alien species with superb hearing.
But blind.
Yes. So they hunt
don't know that they
only
can
by
smell
sound.
either.
That's not ever really established either. Like even in the articles in that first movie, the only thing I ever really saw was sound.
Right.
And then they put like weaknesses and then they had, blind, they can whatever. So I don't think they ever said anything about smell.
So
also with the way that their face opens up, I don't know that they have any nasal cavities.
I would just say their head opens up. I'm not sure where their face is,
Yeah,
actually.
you're right.
So you were a fan of the first one?
I was horrified when I saw it. But honestly, it is a very good movie. It's a really cool concept. I think that they just... John Krasinski, I don't know where he came from, but the movie blew me away. I think that everything he did with it was just, I mean, incredible. I remember I was terrified of this movie. Like I was truly very afraid. Y'all know that I'm a really big chicken. But I could not stop talking about how good the movie was afterwards. And I recommend it to everybody, especially people who do like scary movies, because I don't know that it's even like necessarily a scary movie. It's just a really intense psychological thriller.
Yeah. And it's scary and like it's more dreadful than it is scary, I guess. Like the suspense is, it's a suspense movie.
Yes. You were just constantly on the edge of your seat.
Did you see the first one in a theater?
Yes.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure that you, me, and Liv and Stefan went.
Okay. That is right. Yep. Okay.
I think that you had already seen it, though.
Probably.
No. Yep. It was not Stefan. It was just me, you, and Liv, because Stefan couldn't watch it again. Yep.
Right. I am a huge fan of the first movie. I do like horror movies. I thought this was really just kind of like a fresh take on this genre, I guess. Like it's not based on anything. It's completely original, and just the fact that it came from John Krasinski is insane.
We're big fans of The Office.
Of course. I mean,
and I really like Jack Ryan too. Did you like Jack Ryan?
I don't think I got through the second season, just probably because something came up. But no, I like him. Yeah. I think he's a very good actor. And
he left The Office and he was like swole. Like he went from Jim Halpert to Daddy, like so fast.
Well, it took like 9 seasons, but sure.
But I really do love him, and exactly like you said, like this movie is so original. It's a concept that I've never seen before. I mean, mind you, I don't venture very often into things that are gonna be this suspenseful, but I know of movies and I know kind of the premise of them and things like that. And I hadn't seen anything like this before.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think anybody saw what the first one was going to be. Like it made, I think like 50 million its first weekend, but it went on to like over 300
That's awesome.
million. The first one actually had a $17 million budget and went on to do 340 million.
Wow.
The second one got ramped up to 61 million for the budget. And before we went and saw the movie, I wrote down the stats, and it was at 57.4 million. And on the way home, I rechecked, and it's nearing 59.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would say, for the first like major weekend back to movies, I mean, it's cleaning up.
The original release date was going to be in 2020, but the pandemic pushed everything back, so they're releasing it now in 2021. It is starring Emily Blunt and John Krasinski, who are both married, Millicent Simmons, and then Cillian Murphy and Noah Jupe. This movie was directed by John Krasinski. The IMDb rating for it is 8. Rotten Tomatoes gave it a 91% with an audience score of 94%. And it's in theaters now. Well, maybe not when you're listening to it. Yeah, it should be.
I mean, it's coming out this Friday.
Oh.
Yeah.
We did do it really quickly, so it would come out.
Yeah, this is pushing our schedule a little bit just because we wanted to talk about it in a timely manner. So the movie for the letter P will still be coming out just next week.
Yes.
So, which is a great one.
I'm really excited about that, y'all.
Pre-spoiler thoughts?
I did like this movie. I did. I wasn't really sure what to expect going in. The trailer does give quite a bit away in the sense that like you can kind of get an idea what they're going to go through. I still like the first one more, but the second one was very good. And it's not a big gap between the first and the second one. I also adore Cillian Murphy, so I was really excited to see him. And he had a lot of screen time, so that's great. And I really did enjoy that the kids got more screen time. I thought that was also really different and really great, because a lot of the times when, and maybe I could be bullshitting myself, but when things happen, I think that parents tend to kind of take control, and they're like, whatever I say is law, and we're going to go with that. And these kids are very intelligent,
right?
And they have the opportunity to kind of showcase that.
For sure.
And brave.
Yes.
I mean, they go through some shit.
I was very excited for this movie, and overall I really enjoyed it as well. I was a little hesitant just because the first one was kind of leading up to kind of the reveal of the weakness of the monsters. And you learn that the high-pitched frequency that Reagan, the daughter, can emit from her hearing aid through like microphones and stuff, the aliens can't tolerate it. So that was showcased at the very end of the first Quiet Place. So I was just kind of concerned about what they were actually going to be able to do besides just running.
Yeah.
You know, because they do lose their dad at the end of the first one. He sacrifices himself to save the kids. So this was also a movie minus one of its big stars. And
I'm also a huge emotional butterfly, and I watched that movie again, and it made me cry a second time.
Yeah. I mean, it's
a really powerful scene.
Right. And I mean, just going through the first one with John Krasinski's character, it shows what a good dad he is. And same with the mom. They're amazing parents. And just everything they're sacrificing for their kids. And then he ends up sacrificing himself for it. So I knew from like little press releases and stuff, like Cillian Murphy was going to be in it. There were some other, random stars that may or may not be in it. I was just worried they were going to try and replace John Krasinski somehow with Cillian Murphy.
Sure.
Not as like their dad, but just as like the leading man.
Yeah. I was a little curious about that myself too, but I liked the way that they played it out, which we'll get into in a little bit.
But I think they did a great job. And, John Krasinski helped. He was one of the co-writers on this one. He directed it, as we said. So he's still in it. And I probably would have been much less excited had he not been involved at all. I do know that he originally did not want to do a second one. He wanted the first one to be a one and done. And they convinced him to come back and direct it. And then that also brought Emily Blunt back in because she didn't want to do it either. They both thought it was just perfect as it was, and it was. But I thought they did a good job. Yeah.
I see where they're coming from because, like I've already said, the first one to me is still my favorite out of the two. But I liked that we got a little bit more story.
Yeah. I mean, that could have been a complete story in the first one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's perfect as it is. But they do get to do a little bit more world building in this and kind of venture out and just kind of explore life without John Krasinski there.
Right.
I'm just going to call him that instead of Lee because it's easier. I don't think I knew his name was Lee until this one.
Yeah, we were just talking about that, how I don't think that was established in the first one.
Right. There's much more talking in this one than there was in the first one, which is something that I was also concerned about because the first one ended on such an emotional note, and I just didn't know how they were going to replicate such a good movie without speaking.
Yeah.
Especially because the trailers kind of showed you that they were going to be on the move, kind of leaving the farm. And I just didn't know how much walking and not talking you can do,
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Especially with a baby.
Yeah.
I was honestly afraid they were going to kill the baby because I don't know how you raise a child in a world like that. But yeah. She's a great mom.
I mean, we even see in the first one that you can have everything in place and things can still happen.
Yeah. It's that one little nail in the stairs just fucks everything up.
Oh, I was talking about the very beginning of the movie where their son is playing with the rocket ship.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
So you can literally do everything right. You can try and protect your kids as much as you can, but it's one of those things where I think it's hard for a lot of people to just sit and be quiet for such a extended period of time, but to have to do that 24/7. Wow. Okay. You want to finish the podcast by yourself? Jerk.
No, nobody would listen.
All right, let's get into it, Pants, because I want to talk about this movie.
Okay.
It is different, though, because Pants and I were unable to watch this like a second time or take notes or anything like that.
Right.
Like, we are fresh out of the theater.
And we didn't talk about it.
Nope.
Before now.
Yep.
We rode in separate cars.
Yep.
All right. Spoilers for Quiet Place 2 starting now.
Spoiler warning. The opening of the movie, without trying to think about it too much, starts, I think, on day 1.
Yes.
And so it's a town. At first you're looking at it and there's nobody in the streets. So you're kind of wondering like, okay, has it already commenced? And then John Krasinski comes in with his truck and, you know, just like normal, he goes into a grocery store. He starts picking some stuff up. And there is a news report about how the toll in China, like the death toll in China is immeasurable. Mm-hmm. And they think like a bomb went off or something like that.
It's the same little grocery store that they start off in the first movie.
Correct.
Where the smallest son finds the rocket ship. The rocket ship is still on the shelf.
Yes.
It shows you kind of quickly, but I thought that was a nice touch. But it shows you pretty immediately that everybody in this town is like really close knit. Like John Krasinski just goes in, gets some produce and water, and he's just like, you know, I gotta go. And the store owner is just like, yep, have a good one. Like he doesn't pay.
He was running late or something.
Right.
He knows that he's good for it.
Right. So it goes from there to his son's baseball game. Mm-hmm. And that's just kind of when everything starts.
You know, the fact that they were so loud was freaking me out. I didn't know when things were going to start. I just knew that they were very loud.
Yeah. But it happened really quickly.
Yes.
The you see
maybe
like
a meteor or something.
It's like a fireball meteor thing coming down in the distance, and everybody, you know, starts not running away, but just kind of skittering off,
grabbing their things and kind of heading home to try and figure out what's going on. Right.
And John Krasinski stops at one point to talk to a cop, and one of the creatures just comes out of nowhere
and
annihilates the car,
the police car.
Yeah, just like throws it into whatever shop is right there
behind it, and then just starts assassinating people left and right.
Yeah, they show these things way more in this one, which I kind of expected, since that part's kind of, you know, we know what it looks like, so we don't need to hide it anymore. But they went all out, and there's a lot of them.
Oh yeah.
But they just start the whole opening scene before you even see the title card for Quiet Place 2 it's all on day 1, all how it started. This is the only part of the movie that John Krasinski is in, and it just shows like the chaos of these things coming to their town, or to Earth, I guess. And it's intense.
It's pretty brutal. I mean, you also have to consider that nobody knew at this point in time that they attack by sound.
Right.
And so people are screaming, people are getting into their vehicles, they're slamming doors shut because they're afraid, they're trying to hide, whatever the case may be.
Praying too loud.
Praying. That was kind of comical. So John Krasinski and his daughter are hiding inside of, I guess you could call it like a pub. Sure. There's a couple different people in there as well. And I think that the bar owner is under the table and he's doing
I thought it looked like the guy from the grocery store. I mean, it's an old white guy, so
it could potentially be him.
Sure,
they might have done that. Okay. But either way, he's doing Hail Mary, right? And it kind of zooms in on his face as he's saying the Hail Mary, and then you just see John Krasinski's hand just come out like of the like out of the side of the screen and just cover his mouth, and he's like, like, you need to shut the fuck up.
Yep. And like some teenager's phone goes off, and the thing just like busts in
and just starts again killing everybody in the bar. John Krasinski and his daughter are able to escape, which, by the way, like because it was a little bit more minimal in the first movie how often we saw the creatures, I didn't remember how freaky the noises that they give them. It's kind of like clicking, like echolocation,
chittering. I don't even know if that's
like yes, we'll go with that.
Sure.
It's pretty freaking creepy.
Yeah.
And they're fast. They are extremely fast. So yeah, there's a little bit more to that scene, but essentially they're just kind of showing you what happens, and then their family is able to be reunited, but under a traumatizing situation where their buddy, that's the cop, he doesn't even know that he's sacrificing himself. He's honestly trying to protect them, and he dies.
Right.
And then poof, we jump right back into again. I think that's what it was. They start giving you a couple little snippets from the very last scene of A Quiet Place. And then we hop right into present day.
Right. Which is like day 460 something.
Sure.
Something like that. It's crazy that it's not even like 2 years later.
Yeah.
And they've already not like adjusted, but they've acclimated to this climate and what the world is now.
I was pretty comforted knowing that they were kind of in a small town. They were farmers. They know how to preserve food. Like, you seem to think that they kind of have, I don't want to say the perfect scenario, but they kind of do a pretty decent one. And then to just watch that all burn down in the first movie, that was really devastating. And you can tell that it was for them too, that they were having to leave where they were.
Right. They are venturing into the woods following their like little sand path. The sand path comes to an end. And
is that to muffle their footsteps, by the way?
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So in the first one, they kind of show the dad sprinkling it where it's kind of getting thin, I guess. And that's what they're using to walk. That's why they don't wear shoes, because it's quieter. And the sand muffles any crunching or leaves or anything like that. So yeah, they get to the end of it, and they're kind of just going into unknown territory at that point. So I mean, the whole scene of coming into Emmett's compound was brutal.
Yeah.
It was it's Emily Blunt carrying a baby who is thankfully quiet for the moment, and the two kids are following her, and they're having to squeeze through this chain link fence. And
that's barely cut enough for a human to fit through. Right.
Much less somebody with like a huge backpack.
Right.
And carrying a child. Mm-hmm. And of course something gets kind of caught on it. And that's not even really what triggers the sound. It makes a little sound, but nothing big. You can see there's a POV from like a sniper scope, which is Cillian Murphy's character just watching them. Oh,
Emily Blunt steps
forward. Yeah. The mom steps through a tripwire. She steps on a tripwire, which brings down like Coke cans and shit and just rattles. And so they all kind of start freaking out. They start running. The baby starts crying. And
the baby's not crying at this point. The baby's actually doing pretty good. It was after. And you keep going, but the baby started crying once he started screaming.
Oh, okay. I thought it was when they were running. Mm-mm. No? Okay. Pardon me.
Well, I was just going to let you kind of pick up. I'm not... Go ahead.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. They're running just kind of towards this, like, abandoned factory-looking thing. And the boy, Marcus, steps on a fucking bear trap.
Yeah.
And it just clamps his whole ankle. And it's just... Ugh. And the
thing that like got my ass is that he didn't scream at first. It's when he rolled over and then like the trap moved and he realized what had happened. And I mean, it was a guttural scream of just agony. And I mean, it wasn't one scream. She was, Emily Blunt's character came over and like put her hand on his mouth and was like, please, baby, please. I know. And I mean, he is wailing. Mm-hmm. I cannot imagine how painful that would be. So I don't know that I can like dog him for it. But I mean, that whole thing lasts much longer than it needs to. Maybe like 10 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot for maybe some people, but they are being hunted by something that's listening for that.
Yeah.
And that kind of scream is going to attract everything in the area.
And that triggers the baby.
Right.
And so the baby is screaming. The son is screaming through his mother's hands, and she's just begging with everything for him to stop. And I mean, yeah, the scene went on quite a bit, but like that, I mean, that was a creative choice, and it worked.
Oh,
I
yeah.
was extremely uncomfortable.
Oh, yeah.
And I think everybody who was with us was just...
Every part of my body was clenched.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it was unnerving to think, okay, are they going to get a moment to recover and escape, or are they all about to die? We're only 15 minutes into this movie.
Yeah, she eventually gets him out, and they, hobble their way to the inside
While being chased.
The daughter,
you know what? The daughter had turned around and done it. Yeah.
So the daughter turns around as the mom is trying to get Marcus's foot out of the trap, and she has like an amplifier with her and a mic, and she puts her earpiece to the mic and just sends out that feedback that they can't stand, and of course, like, his hackles is just what I'm gonna call them. They all go up, and they're just like vibrating, and this gives Emily Blunt a chance to just like blow its fucking head off.
Yeah.
And at that point, they can hear more coming. They run into the building, and
Killian is watching this from
his scope. Right. So he grabs them while they're on the inside, or when they're running through the warehouse, he grabs them and just starts. It's a very rapid cut scene where you're kind of seeing the way into his little lair that he has under this building, which he mentions is under several feet of concrete, so it'll muffle sound. And there's like these tube chutes that they all get thrown down, and he has like bags of sand at the bottom so everybody can land safely. Like, it's all set up and ready, and he throws them into this.
Yeah, I don't know what that would be. I don't know if it was maybe like some form of like an incinerator, but it's like a long tube that you can close off. So that's why I thought maybe it was like something to do with, since it was a factory.
Right.
But
it's
they
just
all
some sort
barely make it out.
Yeah. It's just some sort of little compartment that he has down there. It's very small, and they can kind of lock from the inside, and it's pretty soundproof on the inside. Very limited amount of oxygen inside, so they do have to set timers every time they go in there, or else they'll run into trouble. Mm-hmm. So he's locking them in there just until the creature goes away, and then he tells them, y'all have to leave. You can stay till morning. Y'all need to be gone tomorrow. I cannot house you here.
Mm-hmm. So the whole beginning of the movie is just insane. Mm-hmm. I was really curious to see how they were going to play that out, like as far as how the story got started. And now we're kind of jumping into this new timeline and everything that's going on. So I thought that it was a really creative thing to have, like I was saying before, have the kids kind of be the front runners in this movie. Right. Millicent, God bless her, Reagan's character, kind of takes it upon herself to try and find, I'm sorry, let me back up just a hair. They are listening to the radio and they hear a song, and it's Beyond the Sea. Mm-hmm. And she figures out that it's an island that's less than a day away, I guess. Right. So that's kind of where the movie starts taking off. And that's the rest of the movie is her trying to get to that island where they're broadcasting that sound so that she can help other people broadcast that sound and have a chance to defend themselves.
Right. So she definitely takes on the mantle that her dad had. Yes. And I mean, that's addressed later in the movie, that she's definitely walking in his footsteps. Mm-hmm. The island thing doesn't really work out well. Yeah.
It would have.
Right.
It was going well. So that was a really neat concept. that was a really neat twist that I didn't necessarily see.
The pirates? I don't know what they are.
I don't know what those are. No. I was just talking about the island in general. We can go back to that. The island in general was a really cool idea that I hadn't really thought about. Yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah. We find out, I would say one of the only pieces of new information that we find out during this movie is that the creatures can't swim, or they don't do water well. Right. So I'm not sure if it's said they can't swim, but they don't do water.
I think that he said that the Navy or the Coast Guard or whatever it was, as soon as they found out that they couldn't swim. I think that's what he said.
Sure. Well, that sucks because the planet is 70% water. So go somewhere else. They're stupid. They didn't do their research.
So let's invade this planet.
Well, they probably couldn't see it either. So they were just
true.
like,
this planet sounds loud.
go that.
But so I also didn't expect. So what did you think about? There's a scene where. Okay, hold on. I have to back up again. So Reagan takes it upon herself to just leave. She leaves a note and she's like, keep listening. And she leaves it on the radio for her brother. Mind you, her brother cannot get around because he has a gruesome injury to his leg.
Right.
His mom is taking care of a baby. She also stepped on a nail like less than 48 hours ago.
Like 2 years ago.
Our time.
Yeah.
And then Killian's just, at this point in time, just this guy who pretty much wants to be left alone. He's lost his family during this. And I think he's kind of reached that point where he's just surviving and he doesn't want anything to get in the way of that.
Yeah.
So Emily Blunt's character, the mom, pleads with him to try and go and find her and bring her back. And as much as Killian doesn't want to, they used to be friends, which they actually showed at the beginning of the movie, which we didn't highlight. And so I think that kind of plays on a soft spot for him. And he does go and try and find her.
Right.
But I don't know that I wasn't necessarily expecting that there wasn't going to be life outside of just them. But I definitely didn't think that we were going to run into some really scary
pirates.
We'll call them pirates.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah. Killian mentions whenever they first find him that there are other people out there, but they're not people that you want to mess with, that you want to meet.
Saving.
Right, that was it. Yeah. They aren't people worth saving. And that's honestly all I thought we were going to get out of that.
Yeah.
But they're going to try and find a boat to get to this island. And it's Killian and Reagan, and they see this little girl just like at the end of a dock, and Killian's like going up to her, trying to see if she's okay. And she raises her head and just like wraps his neck in.
It looks like a noose, like she's tightening a noose on his neck.
Right.
And the moment he starts to kind of move, he realizes that she's attached a bunch of different objects to him that clatter together, causing it to make noise. So basically she's pinning him to that spot. Right.
And that's when you see like all around them on these boats, because they're in like a boatyard.
Yes.
Or a marina.
Yes.
Yes. You see all these shadowy figures just kind of coming out, and they're all really raggedy looking, and the guy, the main dude, kind of looks like, a homeless Moses or something. And I don't know. I thought he looked like Moses when I saw him.
I just didn't expect that to be your description.
Imagine Moses, but poor.
Okay.
They start, taking everything that Reagan has, including her hearing aid.
Her cochlear implant.
Wow.
Or is it cochlear?
I don't know.
It's cochlear. It's cochlear implant.
Okay. I'm probably just going to call it hearing aid because I'm not going to remember that term.
Okay.
Cool.
Just wanted to make sure you knew.
Great.
Yeah.
I've said hearing aid numerous times now, and you've just
finally gotten to me.
Okay.
Yeah. I didn't know how many times you're going to use it, so now I'm having to correct you.
It's a main
storyline. It should be one of the main characters because it plays a pretty significant part. Just saying. It helps them a lot.
Okay, so does sand, but we're not talking about...
Yeah, but sand doesn't, fight
water.
The alien species. Or water.
They can't swim. That makes water their main enemy. So yeah, they eventually fight these guys off and end up attracting the creatures.
I did like
to
that.
Them.
You have to back up just a hair. At the beginning of the movie, when they're sitting in the benches watching the baseball game, Killian asks Reagan how you say dive because, they're playing baseball.
Right.
And so she shows him the gesture for dive. And, John Krasinski pokes fun. It's like a hard one, And so they laugh about it, whatever. And so they're on the pier now. And Reagan looks back at Killian, who has all the noise machines on him, noise apparatuses. Machines. I don't know.
Little jingle bells.
And he makes that sign to her, like dive. And so
'cause they're on a dock.
They are on a dock. So again, because I looked at pants in the middle of the theater and I was like, you know what? At this point, fuck it. Like, we're going to start making noise. Like, you're going to kill me or those things are going to kill me. That's kind of where we're at. So he gets up and he starts making a bunch of noise. She dives into the water and then these things just come out of the forest. And again, it never got easier for me to watch these things. Like, just violently throw these bodies all around the dock. I mean, with their large appendages, they have kind of hooks at the end of their front legs, if you want to call it that. I'm not sure. But they just like backhand and like stab and just throw. It's nuts.
It's not even that, like, because I think a lot of movies with like alien creatures like this, you know, the aliens are eating people. That's kind of their go-to. And while you see them like snap appendages off and stuff, they're mostly just thrashing people around.
They
and
kill.
Just fucking them
and
up.
That's it. Yeah. I haven't seen any of them eat. They literally just attack anything that makes noise.
Right. So yeah, they end up escaping that whole thing and make it, you know, to the island, and that goes poorly. I guess there was one on the boat.
Well, at the very end, when they're in the boat, they see one of the aliens fall into the water and the other one is on top of the boat.
Right.
So somehow that boat also ends up on the island, releasing that monster to where there are people that inhabit that island who think that they're safe because they're far enough away from land and those creatures that they have never been attacked before.
Right.
And I mean, it was freaking was that bizarre to you? I mean, I know it was probably a complete shock to these guys. They have been
just
without
living their normal life.
Yeah, they've been without sound, without people, without a community for over a year.
Yeah, and it's just like this little village of little houses. It honestly, I'm gonna bring this into it, but it reminded me of
Lost.
Yes. Where like all the houses that the Dharma people lived in.
Yeah.
On the island.
Yeah.
And that's just kind of what it was. They weren't like hippies, but they were all like just.
No, I mean
living.
Yeah.
Like whatever, and
you
they
knew
were all
that
around.
They weren't
campfires.
necessarily like, you know, how do you say that? They weren't living the modern life. They had all of those amenities, but you could also tell that, you know, they didn't have new clothes or things like that. But yeah, they had fires. There were kids running around laughing and playing together. Babies, food, like music. It was nuts.
Yeah. And then that one thing just like fucked it all.
Yeah. Well, Killian somehow hears it. I just remember he was like standing there and he just heard thunk, thunk, and then he looks and it's the boat.
Right. So he just put two and two together.
At first, I thought they had one on the island that they had trapped or something. I was very confused by that.
Huh. That would have been cool.
That would have been like, he's like, why do you have this here? And they're like, we have it for. I didn't know what they were gonna do. Like if there was gonna be some weird. Like
that would have been weird.
That was weird. There is some like weird mad scientist vibe about to happen. Like I wasn't sure.
I don't know if I would have liked that.
I wouldn't have either. That's why I got scared. I should have trusted you, John. I'm sorry.
They had it just like tied on to like chains. They just like fed it. They just like fed it to keep it like at bay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be going crazy listening to all the noises. It just had like soundproof, like Beats headphones on it.
Over its little ear holes.
We found out if we put a helmet on it, it couldn't expand its face. Its head face.
His head face, yes.
But yeah, this alien starts. Oh, and this is all coinciding. Wait, sorry, no. The boat scene is coinciding. They keep going. It's 3 stories. So it's Emily going to the drugstore to try and find antibiotics for her son.
Right.
It's her son and oxygen. It's her son being...
He's trying to help.
I know he is, but it got to me that she told him to stay put and he walked around. He found the body of Killian's wife, I can only assume, upstairs. When he pulled back a curtain, it alarmed him and he fell back and made a huge clatter.
I actually did not make that connection that was his wife, but that makes sense.
I think it was.
Yeah.
But I'm not 100% sure.
She died from sickness.
Right.
And she was on like a a bed up there.
Yes.
Is that right? Okay. So yeah, that
yeah,
tracks.
and that whole story, we're gonna have to rewatch it because he was talking about it. But I remember him saying, and then there was the screaming. So I wonder if he had to do something for her, like to
put her down,
alleviate her,
right,
from that pain. I can't believe you just said put her down.
Sorry. It's like when someone gets bit by a zombie, you gotta do it.
Yeah, I know. It was just alarming. Anyways, so that's going on.
All the while, the baby is in a box to keep it quiet, and as it showed in the first one, they have an oxygen tank hooked up to this box for the baby with this cute little mask that the baby wears, and it just kind of shows you that it's in the red, the oxygen tank.
Right. So they do not have very much left at all.
And so she's also picking up 2 tanks from the drugstore as well. But yeah, it's just flashing between all 3 of these different stories, which I thought was really cool since the first one kind of just stayed with the family.
One central location.
But
that even built the suspense more because you're witnessing 3 different people have encounters with bad guys, those creatures, and
then just the lack of breathing.
That made that scene so much better because you were in such a heightened state because everyone that is a main character is going through a situation in which they might die.
Right. Like the son, Marcus, yes?
Yes.
They really don't say names, so I can't keep track of them. But he, as you said, he attracts one of them when he falls backwards. And so he's running down to Cillian Murphy's little lair, and inside this compartment that we mentioned earlier, there's lack of oxygen, so they can't be in there too long. But he shoves the baby in there, as well as himself in the oxygen tank. And when he shuts the door, he misses this this rag that Cillian has put in place so they don't get locked in.
Yeah.
So it kind of blocks it from latching.
Right.
But he does not do that because he's panicked. And so he gets locked in there. And, and it, cuts back and forth. But we quickly see that he's running out of oxygen.
Mm-hmm. He had passed out.
And
he woke up and realized that he had passed out.
And he's borrowing oxygen from the baby who has started crying. And I don't think he ever fully realizes that the tank is running low. I know she knows. Mm-hmm. That's why she went to get some, but I don't think he realizes it.
Yeah.
So he's slowly dying with the baby, and she's trying to get back to him.
Freaking creature is still trying to get him, and
right.
Emily hears that commotion.
Right. So she's just like a total badass.
Oh my god.
She's so cool.
Yes.
I mean, she uses like the kind of the waterfall callback from the first one, where they're, it's okay as long as there's a sound louder than your voice is the whole thing. And she sets off the fire sprinklers inside this warehouse and kind of muffles her sound. She blows up a fucking oxygen tank on the creature, and it still lives, of course, because
they have some kind of armor, which they mentioned
they
in the
came
first
down
one,
in a fireball, so it makes sense.
Okay.
I don't think they give a shit about fire.
Oh, that was great. Okay.
I mean, it's just water that they can't do. But what if their little ships just landed on Earth?
I was just wondering how they got here, and I wonder if they were like all kind of like holding hands, like with their big appendages, and then they all like fell. Because that would make sense. They have armor.
Would it?
Why would they need a meteor or a spaceship if their exoskeleton or whatever is strong enough to withstand any kind of damage, because they cannot kill these things?
Well, nobody has tried throwing them from outside the atmosphere to see if that kills them. Maybe that's number 3. A quiet place in space.
Yeah.
Because no one can hear you scream in space.
Wow.
Per alien.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
All right. So yeah, it's intense, and she eventually gets back to the kids, and they get oxygen and they live.
Yeah, they're all hiding now inside of the little bunker. We'll just call it that.
Right. I mean, the whole last like 15 minutes where all the stories are kind of
overlapping again.
Right. And they're all kind of building to the same kind of like crescendo that both of the kids are having to step up.
Yeah.
Because Emmett and Reagan are trying to get to this radio station thing to emit that signal feedback.
While also having to bring the creature with them so that it wouldn't continue attacking the city.
Right.
Which is insane.
Yeah.
Like at one point, the creature, so they are honking their horn really loud to grab the creature's attention. They drive off. It follows them, of course, on the island. And at one point, Reagan goes to like adjust the top of the car, and that thing just pops out. I mean, I screamed. I was like, where do you think it went? What are you doing? But that happens a lot.
She can't hear anything.
I don't know if I know, but what pants? What? She can still see.
I know, but I mean, she didn't even know it was attacking until they told her to duck.
Yeah, she did. She saw it come through the ceiling.
No, she was just looking ahead.
I don't think so.
I do.
You're crazy. I mean, you made me lose my train of thought, pants. Damn it. Oh, what I was going to say was that happens quite a bit. I feel like people forget that speaking attracts them because even the guy that they met on the island is like, I don't think we were loud enough. I think it went back to the city. I have to go get my kids. And he's like backing up towards the garage door, and then whoop, like the creature like grabs him from under the door. And then that honestly just, it upset me because I know that he's been really, what am I trying to say? He's been really detached. He's been removed from that situation for such a long time that he probably wasn't thinking straight or thinking in that mindset. But it was still really devastating to see a character that had helped them, get there and try and make a difference to die like that.
But it in that last like 10 minutes when they're trying to get into the actual like sound booth to emit this noise and turn off was it Across the Sea? What's the song?
Beyond the Sea.
Beyond the Sea. Across the Sea is a very good Lost episode. But yeah, they're trying to turn off the Beyond the Sea song and put this the signal feedback on there. Killian is just he's trying to keep this thing away from her so she can do this, and his leg gets fucked up in the process. And right when he's about to just die, she turns it on and it starts emitting the noise, and that travels back to where Marcus and Evelyn are with the baby, because they're being attacked inside this little compartment by one of these things. And he still has the radio with him, the son does, so he turns it on that station and it starts emitting that noise, which...
Well, and Emily, right before that, or Evelyn, right before the noise started, the creature... Okay, so she went out of the little cubby to grab some stuff, so that's why the door was open. And then when she tries to shut it, the creature is able to get his leg in there and scratches her, or like injures her leg pretty bad.
Right.
So that's why the son ends up having to kind of step up.
Right. So,
although, how the hell did he walk? I mean, he just had a bear trap in his leg.
He was like going up the ladder and shit.
Yeah,
I
don't understand that. I mean, it must have been a gruesome. I know that sounds really fucked up, but I think we're gonna have to look up.
Well, they did mention that it didn't hit bone.
True.
So it might have just been like a really bad flesh wound. Pretty freaking painful,
but okay.
So,
but anyways, continue.
Yeah, so it's cutting really rapidly between the scenes of just the two kids stepping up and defending these adults. And like, as cheesy as it fucking sounds, I got chills throughout this whole scene, because like the music is swelling.
Yeah,
I'm getting chills talking about it right now. And it shows them both just stepping towards the monsters that are like, being attacked by this sound now. And they each get a weapon.
Yeah.
The son grabs like the revolver that Emily Blunt left outside the little cubby, and Reagan grabs some sort of pipe.
Yeah, it's like a pole pipe thing.
And they're both just getting really close to him, and
it was really crazy too, because I don't know if it was actually slow motion, but I think it was like at least slowed down a little bit, because that also made a big difference. Is like they were like, you were processing every single moment with them. So I understand what you're saying by you got, you know, it was crazy. It was very good.
And
continue.
They both like Reagan just like slams this pole through this thing's head.
Yeah.
Which I assume whenever their hackles are up, it's more exposed.
Yeah.
Because it wasn't like a sword.
Right. That's what I was wondering too.
But she goes like through its head with it. So I guess under that exoskeleton, that's just flesh, I guess. Or just like exposed nerves.
I mean, and I guess we've kind of seen that a little bit, like when they open up and they show what I guess you would call their ears.
Right.
That's all fleshy, covered by harder.
Right. Armor, whatever. So I assume it's just, as I said, just like a bunch of exposed nerves. Yeah. It's just raw.
Yeah. But man, she had some, I mean, I'm glad she put everything into that hit because I was really nervous.
Yeah. And, you know, at the same time she hits it, it cuts to Marcus shooting the thing and, you know, both creatures are dead. And that's the end.
It was so emotional for me too, though, because as they're cutting back and forth to the kids, they show Emily and they show Killian on the floor.
Yeah.
And Emily's eyes are starting to water because she's like, I can only imagine, I don't have kids, but I can only imagine that it would be kind of the same as maybe like my niece or nephew. And like, to me, they're babies, you know, and to watch them do something that is so big and so brave and just takes a lot of
balls.
They were both super emotional watching them do that because that's supposed to be their role.
Exactly. They're doing that in place of, I mean, they're the parents of that in that moment. They're protecting and
the adults, quote unquote.
Right. And I mean, they're both so much like their dad at that point. Like, I know it's made apparent that Reagan is kind of stepping into that role, but even though Marcus was, you know, he wasn't like a shit this movie.
No,
but
he was just injured.
No, I mean, he was injured, but he also kind of went out of his way to disobey his mom. But that wasn't even like,
I don't think there was malicious intent behind it. I think he was just really anxious.
Right.
You know?
I mean, he did leave a baby
unattended.
But yeah, that's something else. There's really like no unlikable characters in the movie. I mean, except for the pirates,
dock pirates.
Right. Another thing I did want to mention that I appreciated, especially in the opening scene, the flashback to day one, was how it kept moving in and out of Reagan's point of view. Since whenever it's focused on her, all the sound goes away because she's deaf. Yeah. And when she was like kind of running down the street and it was totally quiet, and her dad comes out and grabs her arm, the sound just comes back. Mm-hmm. And just that way of that kind of handoff, I thought was really cool. And they do it a few times through the movie. Yeah. Because this is kind of, for a good chunk of it, it's kind of her movie, like what she wants to do. And I mean, kudos to her, because this is not the world that she was made for. Right. Because she can't hear how loud she's being. And it doesn't really go into her, feeling for like vibrations or something, where I think other movies might just have like a heightened sense of smell or something. Right.
Well, she's the second name on the list, right? How do they break down cast for this movie?
She's the third.
Because you have it that way, so that's how I thought it was online.
Yeah, that's how it's. Oh God, I don't know why I was. Yeah, she's second. I'm so sorry.
That's okay. I mean, she's, the second person listed on this movie. She had a huge role in this movie. Right. That's what I was telling you. Like, I mean, I'm going to say it again. I loved that they had an opportunity to be the forerunner in this movie. Yeah. Like, exactly like you said, it was her movie, essentially. Mm-hmm. She was the person that was literally doing what her dad would have done.
Yeah. I agree. It ends really abruptly.
Yeah. And then exactly, we were sitting in the theater and all this happens and they kind of just show the two groups of people. Yeah. And then boop, credits.
Right. I was like, fuck.
Because it was super abrupt.
The first one, a lot of people said, well, it ended kind of like the first one did, but the first one I felt like kind of eased you into it. Like John Krasinski died. And it kind of showed them not working through that, but dealing with the immediate aftermath of it, and then it ends. This is like,
well, they did show. The reason that I said that it kind of ended like that is because at the very end of The Quiet Place, they're grieving. They go down the basement, and that's when Reagan's character shows her mom what the cochlear implant can do. And they turn up the radio, and you see all of the creatures running at their house, and she's like, "Are you ready?"
That's right.
And then the credits hit.
But even then, like her saying, "Are you ready?" and that being an end, you're like, "Oh, you're pumped." But this, it just like, it takes you there, and then it doesn't even gives you like that immediate aftermath. It's just, it's done. Like, imagine not cuddling after sex.
They just abruptly get up and leave.
Exactly.
And you're just left like,
oh.
Credits.
like you finish, and then you just get up and walk away.
I was going to say it was almost like you didn't. And then they got up and left. And you're just like, oh, this was the hype. Like, that was the like highest point of the movie where we were like, okay. But again, it just kind of, and the reason I say that is it kind of ended like the first one is because they went back to the frequency. They ended it on the frequency,
right?
In both. I am ready to watch a little more. I'm really nervous if they do a third one. I don't know, because I didn't like this one better than the first. Right.
But I know, from what I've read, Krasinski already has ideas for a third one. And that would make it a trilogy, which I assume would be it. If they can bring this to an ending, like not like in, humans rise up and defeat everything. I think that's kind of dumb. But if he has a good idea for a third one that will end this, then fuck yes.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to see it regardless. But,
right. Well, because that's kind of what I thought leaving the first movie is that, okay, so now they're going to move forward with maybe spreading the news or continuing that sound every once in a while, killing things off, like whatever you need to do.
I feel like what they could do is, since they can rig this up to some sort of radio frequency, if they can get that news out and have that frequency just like always playing, and if people need it, they turn that on and they just have immediate access to that buffer, like that would be an interesting thing to play into the third one, that her discovering this has actually spread everywhere, and she's, in a way continuing what her dad did and just saving everybody.
Yeah.
Or at least giving them that little buffer so they can run or kill the thing.
Well, I also thought about how they're kind of in a rural area.
Right.
There are a lot of people, but I wonder if like the third movie would go into like heavily populated areas where there may be way more creatures. And I wonder how that would play out.
Like Quiet Place, New York. Which would essentially be Cloverfield. Scary.
Yeah. It's not really like that, but it just
those things body wise like mimic.
Oh, sorry. No, I wasn't talking about Cloverfield.
Oh, okay.
In my head, I was thinking about The Strain.
Yeah.
That TV show that came out, and how everyone and their mother just got infected like this.
Right.
So I wonder if there's anybody still in those areas.
That haven't been affected by them.
Yeah.
I don't know. I would assume news would travel and that they would all just kind of shut up in preparation or prevention for that happening.
Yeah. I just feel like it would have hit heavily populated areas first because of how loud they are. Right. So I wonder if anybody would have even survived.
Imagine
because
like
those
Vegas.
Would have been. Yeah. I don't know. I really don't know what he would do with the third movie. I see where you're coming from, but even then, like, going into this one, we were already kind of like, okay, what is this going to look like? He did a really good job with this. I don't know what else. I mean, unless they're going to go back and get Emily and the son and bring them to the island too. But that kind of seems dumb.
Well, I think the island
movie
is off the table now.
Why?
Well, I mean, I guess it could still. It was only one.
Right.
Okay. So, I mean, yeah, they could. I don't know. It's like let the Hoover Dam go and like flood everything and kill them. I don't know. Do water hoses still work in this world? Everybody turn your sprinklers on.
I think he can definitely walk through water because while they're in that factory, the sprinkler system is going off and
that's true.
That alien is just fine.
Okay, well, it's just an idea. One more thing.
Terrible one pants.
One more. You don't know. One more thing I will say is I really liked how you could just see these things in the background, like when they were coming up, and it wasn't your focus is still on the character.
Yeah.
But like out of focus in the background, you see like with her, you see the thing coming through the water, or like even in the trailer when she's driving backwards from that bus.
Oh yeah.
And you see him just kind of come out of the bus.
Yeah.
And it's fucking creepy.
I have to tell you a funny story, everyone. So the scene on the train where she was alarmed because a body fell on her, and this is Reagan, by the way. And a body fell on her, so she kind of like exclaims and falls backwards a little bit. She's sitting on the floor, and my hand immediately goes up, and I point at the screen, and Pants looks over at me and goes, "I know, Tina, I'm not blind." And I'm like...
Because there's one coming that Reagan doesn't see, and Tina's just sitting there pointing at it.
I was freaking out.
I'm like, no, we all see it.
But she didn't have her cochlear implant in, so she couldn't hear it. I think she just turns at one point in time, just kind of assessing her surroundings, and she, goes in oh shit mode. Mm-hmm. Thank God that Emmett came in and saved her.
Indeed. Now they're besties.
BFFs for
and
life.
Then she saved him.
Yeah, at least they're even now.
Indeed.
Pants.
Yes, ma'am.
Final thoughts.
It was very good. Not as good as the first one, but I wasn't expecting it to be. So I was not at all disappointed.
Yeah.
I will own it when it comes out.
Oh, yeah. Like I was telling you, too. Like, I really liked the movie. I recommend that if you liked the first one, you absolutely go see this one. Mm-hmm. But it's still going to go in order for me. The first movie was great. The second movie is going to fall right behind it.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, hey, Tina.
Hey, Pants.
On a scale of 1 to 10, how many bear-trapped children's legs would you give this movie?
I knew it. You fucking douche. 9.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very
and the
good.
only reason it's not a 10 is because it didn't beat A Quiet Place, so I can't really give it a 10.
Indeed.
You know what? I can't think of anything. Hey, Pants.
Hey.
Because I have no idea how to make fun of this movie because it was great.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
On a scale of 1 to 10, where would this movie fall for you?
A twist. 9 as well.
I can just say dog pirates. How many dog pirates would you give this movie?
9 dog
How
pirates.
many dog pirates attaching noisy nooses to you would you give this?
Noisy noose.
A noisy noose. Would you give this movie?
9 still.
It really was. It was so great.
Yeah.
I really, really
It's only not a
enjoyed it.
10 because the first one's a 10.
Yes.
And this is just not as good, but still great.
But still really good.
Indeed.
Also, Cillian Murphy. Like
Very
I said
good.
before, I really enjoy him as an actor.
Mm-hmm.
And if you've never heard his real voice, it's glorious. I need to look it up for you when we're done here. It's so great.
Great.
Yeah. He can just rock you to bed. All right. So
Don't even do that.
we hope that you enjoyed this awesome interruption. We are really excited about next week's movie, but we wanted to include this. Like we told you guys before, if stuff comes out that Pants and I really want to watch, we're definitely going to do a podcast on it. So we hope you enjoyed listening to it. If you haven't already seen A Quiet Place 2 and you just went through this, spoilers and all, I
mean, thank you.
Yeah.
But
go watch
see it. Yeah. So yeah, if you aren't already subscribed, we are on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts. We post a show on YouTube, all the major podcasting platforms we are on. We are also on Twitter, WTF Did I Watch Pod, and that's normally just me posting things that I think about that are movie TV related. And posting what we're going to be watching the next few weeks.
You can also email us at WTFDidIJustWatchPod@gmail.com. We'd love to see your questions, concerns, affirmations.
Love a good affirmation.
Definitely make sure if you guys listen to us on Apple Podcasts that you guys subscribe, rate and review us. That's how people find the show, and definitely if you enjoyed what you heard, tell your friends about it. We'd love to have all of you listen.
Subscribe everywhere though, not just Apple Podcasts.
Oh yes, indeed, subscribe everywhere.
Yes, everywhere.
Okay.
Next Friday we'll be back to the letter P, which we promised last week. And we will be doing Popstar, Never Stop, Never Stopping, starring Andy Samberg and the Lonely Island guys. So that was a very good episode, and we're excited for you guys to hear it.
If you have not seen Popstar, I am telling you, if you enjoy the music that Lonely Island does, do it. Watch that movie. Join us for that podcast experience. This was probably one of the more fun movies that we've done for this podcast series. Pants and I love stupid humor like that. And the ability to create songs that are so dumb they're good is freaking hard, guys. And this movie nailed it.
Yes.
It was
so
awesome.
Good. Yep.
So freaking good.
I don't remember if it's streaming anywhere, but
I don't think it is.
It is
but it's worth
the buy. It's worth the rent. Might as well just buy it. But yeah. We will be back next Friday with that. Have a good weekend, everybody.
I can't do it. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Y'all have a good one, and we're out. Bye. No, that's the sound they make. Okay, we were wondering on the way here, does your dick ever get itchy? Like, not just the balls, but like the shaft, and do you scratch it? And is it unpleasant?
Yes, no.
Liv was like, you know what else you could I don't know why I said scratch.
I mean, I think any part of your body can get itchy.
That's true. Guess my vagina.
Sure.
Yeah.